What's going on, YouTube, Temple University Esports, everyone watching? My name is Raptura, and I like to play this game here called Splatoon 2. Splatoon 2 is a 4 versus 4 objective-based shooter, and the name of the game is pretty much map control. No matter what mode you're playing in, you're going to want to paint the ground in your color ink in order to get map control for your team. Now, the first mode that you will be playing when you start playing Splatoon 2 is this mode called Turf War, which is exactly that. And that's where a lot of people who actually know the game understand the majority of what this game is. Um, so today I'm just gonna play a bit of Turf War and speak my thoughts on like how this game is played. So this game, again, it's a 4v4 objective-based shooter. Um, it's not like your typical MOBA or typical shooter, um, where like you can run around like I am right now, or you can swim in your color ink. This game uses motion controls to play. You can either play with like sticks like you would in like Call of Duty, or you can play like with motion controls, which the majority of players play. A lot of what this game comes out to is getting map control, being able to actually move using using your ink in order to get the different kills and so that you can actually do the objective. And in this mode, since this mode is just, you know, you have to paint the ground, and at the end of the game, it's based on how much percentage of area you've covered. Hence the name of Turf War, which is the normal mode. That is like the pretty much what the game is based off of. You have a large variety of different weapons that you can play with, from sloshers to shooter weapons, paintbrush, paint roller, different like blaster type weapons. You have an umbrella that you can play with now, ever since Splatoon 2. You have a lot to work with, and there's a lot of variety when playing this game. So every game is going to be different. You're going to see, like, of course there's like a meta in this kind of game. Like, you're going to see a lot of the same weapons sometimes, but in general you're going to see a lot of different weapons. The weapon right now I'm playing is called the Kensa Splattershot Junior. It is a weapon variant of the Splattershot Junior weapon, which is actually the first game that you get when you play this game. Oh, sorry, the first weapon that you get when you play this game. It's pretty okay. It's really good at painting, which is the reason why I decided to play Turf War first, to show off the potential of just moving around the map and how you move. So a couple things you might have seen me already do is I'm going into what's called squid form. I can actually go into squid form and become a squid and travel in my own color ink. Now if I go into my opponent's ink, I actually take damage. Ooh, that's a lot. There we go. I actually end up taking damage, and I actually can't move around as freely as I would in my own color ink. So when we get to talk about the 4 ranked modes, you'll see that having map control is a big part of how this game operates. So I'm pretty sure we actually won this game. Yep, 46.5%. So I hope that's a very good representation of what Turf War looks like. And now I'll actually go into the training room and show you some stuff, as well as going into like what all the different kinds of weapons do and what they all look like. So alright. So going straight into the different kinds of weapons we have. the first kind of weapon that you'll see is the shooter class. So shooter class is like your typical like pew pew weapon. You get to shoot ink out of your gun. You need to be fairly accurate to use this kind of weapon. The weapon I'm using right now is actually a weapon called the Tentatek Splatter Shot. It's a fairly good, fairly meta weapon. This weapon is typically used for like frontline, slaying weapon that you can go and just get kills or splats with. So this is more like your aggressive option in the game. There are other weapons. You have like your spray shooters, which is what the Splatter Shot Junior is classified as, where it's less accurate and it's better at painting. And then you have longer range shooters like the Jet Squelcher, which is really good for backline coverage. So you can pressure enemies from afar. Now, in this video, I'm not going to talk about every single kind of weapon. I'm just going to go over the major classifications of weapons. So we'll go straight into the blaster category now. So blaster category, it's like, I want to say it's like the shotgun of this game, but there's actually another version. There's another weapon that's more of a shotgun with like the spray fire and stuff like that. Blaster has two different kinds of firing pattern. You can do it indirect, or you can do it direct if you're accurate. And the directs typically will kill the second you hit them, as you can see. Oh, I missed that one. And indirects will only do like half damage. So they're not the best to get. So you really want to be accurate with this kind of weapon. You really want to hit all your shots. This is really good for again, slaying, just like the short range shooters are. And you have many different kinds of blasters. You have the Lunar Blaster, which is extremely close range. You have your Blaster, which is like your standard range. Range blasters, longer range. Then you have these special blasters here. Clash and Rapid blasters are blasters that do not kill on directs, but they do a significant amount of damage on directs. So I'm gonna actually select a Rapid blaster here, and you'll see what I mean. So you still have the same kind of fire here, except now the direct will only do, in this case, 85 damage as I'm playing the Rapid blaster, and the indirect will do even less than a regular blaster. Now, the reason why these weapons are good is because they simply shoot faster than regular blasters, so you can do a lot of chip damage on enemies. It's really good at supporting your teammates from afar, or getting kills from afar with your teammates. But all in all, every blaster is a good blaster. Or like every blaster gets the job done, rather. I'm not going to say that they're necessarily good, but... Alright, so that's blasters. Next weapon variant is roller. So rollers, you might have seen this in maybe like promotional material. But you have a couple different things you can do with the roller. So you can roll around with it, which is really good for getting paint, I guess. But what makes this weapon really good is, in this game, you have two different kinds of flicks. So if you're grounded and you press ZR in order to shoot, then you do what's called a horizontal flick, where your spread is much more like wide. This is that's pretty good for just like getting paint on the ground at maybe after super jumping or something like that. Another thing you can do is if you jump in the air, at the apex of your jump, you can hit the ZR button and you do a vertical flick, which allows you to paint more in front of you. So you get you have a path in front of you to swim in. So yeah, rollers are pretty good. They're also a more aggressive option. So you can actually get one-hit kills if you hit people with the like the base of the roller or like a certain range after it, as you can see. Or you can do like just a bit of damage if you hit them with a flick like that. Did 40 damage. So in this case, this weapon is all about positioning and catching your enemies by surprise, for the most part. Roller is a pretty good option if you really want like the element of surprise, or you just want to like run around and be aggressive, but you're not necessarily good with like aiming with like a shooter or something, or like keeping eyes on your opponent. Alright, so that's the roller. You have many different kinds of rollers here. Dynamo roller is extremely slow, but it does a lot of damage. And of course, with all the rollers, you have both the kind of flicks. You have your horizontal flick and your vertical flick. Alright. So after rollers, we have brushes. Brushes are like the cousin to roller here. Where it's like the melee weapon of this game essentially. So you can run around like this with your brush. You're extremely mobile, and if you're good enough, you can just like strafe your enemy shots. And in order to do damage, you have to actually tap the ZR button like I'm doing right now, and get in your opponent's face to hit them with the brush tip essentially. Brushes are really good in modes where you just need to be mobile. So in certain ranked modes, that's pretty important, like Clan Blitz, where you actually have to gather up the objective in a weird way. I'll probably make a different video on every single one of the ranked modes. But brushes are not a bad option for things like that. You can also like catch your enemies by surprise, just like the roller. If you're swimming up to them and you come up behind them and then you hit them with your brush. So it's a pretty good weapon. Not my favorite, but it's pretty good. Alright, so after brushes, we get into what's called chargers. So chargers are essentially the snipers of the game. There are two different versions of most chargers. You have your unscoped charger, and you have your scoped charger, which is like that. Now chargers, like I said, are like the sniper of this game. So they tend to stay in the back of engagements. What makes them really good is their specials that they have, as well as their ability to also one-shot enemies just like blasters and rollers, but from a very safe distance. So if you're used to playing like snipers in other games, and you would really like to play chargers. Another thing you can actually do with chargers is what's called a hold shot, or a charge shot. Is you charge it up, and then you go into squid form. You can actually hold your charge and then come out of your ink with that same charge, like this. There we go. So something cool that if you're playing Splatoon 1 you don't actually have, but in Splatoon 2 that's a big change, and it's very relevant. So definitely, if you're playing Charger, try to master this. It's extremely important to learn how to do this and do it effectively. And you have many different kinds of chargers here. You have your standard chargers. You have your more close range charger, which is the Swiffer, which doesn't actually have a scope variant, but charges much faster. Except in that case where I didn't have ink. Yeah, Bamboo, which pretty much doesn't charge at all, but doesn't one-shot. So you have a lot of variety with the weapons that you have in this game. So next kind of weapon is sloshers, which is my favorite kind of weapon. So in general, sloshers are they're just paint buckets. You just throw the ink in front of you like so. So they're really good for map coverage. And they're more of like your midliner option. So you can play very much at your own pace with this kind of weapon by hitting people at the end of your range. You don't have to get as close as the regular blaster or like a lot of frontline shooters do, but you also can't stay in the back like snipers and the more backline options do, like the jet sculpture that I showed you earlier. Yeah, so this weapon is a lot more um, like a hybrid kind of weapon, what we call midline. Um, these weapons are extremely good. They're um, pretty fast to actually deal damage, and they stay in a really good position. They can also hit a lot of spots that other people cannot. So like this guy right here, I can actually hit him, and if there was like a wall below this, if he's like a sniper, he can actually shoot me without compromising his position. So sloshers have that advantage. They essentially take the I have the high ground concept and completely destroys them. It's just like not very much of an issue with sloshers. Now, you have a couple different kinds of sloshers. So what I just showed you was a regular slosher. You have tri-slosher, which actually has 3 different hitboxes. So you can see it like comes out in 3 different ways. So there's the middle one here, then there's like this hitbox here, like on the left, and one on the right. This is more like your frontliner slosher. You really want to get in people's face with. But this is like the faster of all the options. And then Sloshing Machine is the slosher that a lot of blaster players will really like because it's just like Rapid Blaster where you have indirects and directs, but you also don't have that issue where it shoots straight. You can actually shoot up and down with it. So you can actually like arc your shots with it like that. Then you have like more special sloshers like Bloblobber. Bloblobber shoots 4 different projectiles in front of it. This is really good for painting. This is more of like your support option, and does a lot of chip damage. Then you also have long range sloshers like X-Slosher. So with the sloshers, you pretty much have a lot of flexible roles here, which is why it's my favorite. You have a lot of options with these kind of weapons. After sloshers, we have let's see. I think it's umbrella. Oh no, we actually have splatlings. So splatlings are like the miniguns of this game. So just like chargers, you have to charge your shot, and you can run around like while charging the shot. And then when you let go of the ZR button, you actually fire all of your bullets. So a lot of splatlings are more like backline options. They like to stay in the back to actually charge their shots and support their teammates from the back. But you also have the mini splatling, which is a faster splatling that charges a lot faster, and it's more of a midline option or frontline option, depending on how you see it. And you also have Ballpoint, which is another like midline backline hybrid. This one's special because like you can shoot and then it changes its accuracy so that it's more accurate and actually shoots further away. So you have like a frontline mode and a backline mode essentially. And you can also charge it while shooting. So you have there's a lot of like tech in this game. And you also have the Nautilus, which is oh, that's not the Nautilus. You also have the Nautilus, which is the closest thing to a charger that you're gonna get with the Splatlings, where you can actually hold your charge while swimming. Now, one big issue with Splatlings in general is that, like, if you have your charge, if you swim, you get rid of your charge. But with Nautilus, you don't have that issue. Um, but at the compromise of its run speed, it can't actually run that fast. It has one of the slower move speeds in this game. We still have all the benefits of the Splatlings, so it's a very good weapon to pick up as well if you can get over the downsides and appreciate its upsides that it has over other Splatlings. And then you have Hydra, which is the longest range Splatling. So I'll actually show you the range of it. It also charges extremely slow, but it's like one of the best backline weapons in the game. Because you can see it like outranges pretty much everything else in the game. Which is very fun. So the next kind of weapon, and what I believe to be the last kind of weapon, I think we pretty much went over everything. Oh no, we have two more kinds. So you have dualies. The dualies are a new class of Splatoon 2. With dualies are like shooters, but with the added benefit of they can roll. So you can roll with dualies for mobility to dodge shots. You can also, like, I don't know if you ever played Smash, you can also like fast fall with rolls with dualies. So like if you're coming down from a jump, like that's extremely slow. But if you fast fall, that's pretty fast, and you can pretty much get the drop on someone when you're doing that. But one other thing is when you're rolling, it also increases the accuracy of your weapon. So if you look at the screen, there's actually two different reticles on the screen, and that's one for each gun. So I can actually miss with my left gun here, which is exactly what's happening when I intentionally do it. But if I roll, what happens is I put both of my hands together and I have additional accuracy. So you can see the reticle becomes 1, and I get to keep that accuracy as long as I'm in this like turret stance essentially. And you have many different kinds of dualies, just like you have many different kinds of other weapons. You have your fast dualies, which have like very like spontaneous rolls. So these are dapple dualies. They have extremely fast rolls. You have your slower but more powerful dualies. And you can probably just like see it from how slow the bullets are moving and like how the sound is. Like they're extremely slow firing, but they're extremely powerful bullets. You have your more long-range dualies, so dualie squelchers, which are these ones. And these ones have like the added benefit of when you roll, you can actually like walk a little bit, but like you still have like the turret stance. And then you also have one very special dualie, which allows you to roll 4 times and shoot while rolling. This is probably one of the best weapons in the game right now. These are called the Tetra dualies, as in they roll tetra, or 4 times. So again, like, just to emphasize on, this game has a lot of variety, and there's like so much you can actually do in this game. There's a lot of fun to be had. So I'd say like just choose a weapon that you are really interested in, learn it, and then try to see what everything else does, and maybe you'll learn. Maybe you'll like one of those weapons too. And the last kind of weapon is the Brella, which is one of my favorites alongside Sloshers. So Brella is, I will say this is like the shotgun of the game. So you can shoot out your You can shoot out with like the gun of your umbrella essentially, and it's like a shotgun. Like you have a bunch of pellets, and you can actually miss with a lot of these pellets. Like, so it'll do like a variable amount of damage depending on how many of the pellets hit your opponent. But you also have the benefit of if you hold out your umbrella, you have the shield here, and you can actually block bullets. And if you hold it out too long, you actually shoot it out like this. Which has some uses. You can actually make a path for teammates or yourself with it. And you can still shoot while it's leaving your the base of your gun. So you can still shoot, but you just can't like bring out another umbrella at this time. And it comes back. And you have like so like that's your regular standard umbrella. And you have one umbrella that does not have that whole like it doesn't shoot off of the gun, but you can keep the canopy out while shooting. So if you ever watched Kingsman, that's sort of like where this comes from. And then you have your extremely big, beefy Reinhardt-esque umbrella, which is like huge. It has a lot of health, a lot of durability, very slow, very powerful. You can actually one-shot people with this one. Alright. And that's all the weapon types. And as you can see, like, there's a lot of weapon variety here. It can be a bit overwhelming to people who've never played this game. Like, you look at a weapon, you're just like, what does that actually do? I'd say think of it like if you were to play Pokemon, right? The first time you play a Pokemon game, you don't know what any of the Pokemon do. You can probably look it up, but a lot of it is just like experience with the different kinds of weapons. Like if you had the experience or if you've seen them before, then you'll have a really good time. This game is also like very much a game that's not just about the weapon, but it's also about like what gear you're wearing. So squids like to stay fresh, and you have a lot of different gear options here. These literal pages of gear options from headgear to clothing to shoes, and every different piece of gear does something different. But what's good about this game is that you don't have to go out and unlock every piece of gear. You can actually just grab a piece of gear that you like to look at, and then you can actually grind up what kind of abilities you want on your gear. So there's different kinds of gear abilities that go from I want to shoot longer, pretty much, like you have more ammo. I want to throw bombs more. I want to use my ultimate more, or like get it faster. Or if I die, I don't want to have my respawn to be so long, etc. There's a lot to go in depth with that, and I'm not gonna have that sort of time for this video. I don't know if I'll actually do another video on like each individual component of the game, because there's tons of videos out there already about like what every single thing in this game does, and for me to do that in just the time that we have now is like just not gonna happen. So I'm just gonna sit and play one more turf war game with another weapon, and that weapon will be the undercover umbrella. So undercover umbrella really likes to have like run speed, so I'm going to use this run speed up school cardigan, which looks pretty fresh. And then let's see, I guess I can also have like stealth jump. Like maybe I'll jump in a lot, I don't know. Let's try that. So yeah, I'm just gonna hop right into a turf war lobby, and then once that game is done, I'm gonna end the video. Alright, so here we're in a mode turf war on the map Mako Mart, which is like a grocery store essentially. First thing you want to do in turf war is just like paint up the base a little bit to actually get some special gauge, as well as like make sure that your team has somewhere to move. There's a sniper on this box here. I'm just gonna pressure him a bit. I use my splashdown special here. Get rid of this brush. So one very huge thing about this game is also special usage. So there's a lot of different special abilities in this game. They range from like Inkjet, which is essentially like a jetpack, or like Pharah if you've ever played Overwatch, to Baller, which is like a little hamster ball that you can run around in and explode. To my special, which is Splashdown, which is like a superhero landing special. You go up in the air, and then you come down, you do a superhero landing, and do like a huge explosion around you. There's Stingray, which is a laser that goes through walls. There's Bubbles, which I used in the last match, which just brings up like a bunch of paint bubbles that you or your teammates can pop to paint the ground as well as deal damage. There's Ink Storm, which is this rain cloud that's right above me. I already said Baller, that's what that was. And there's like more supportive specials like Ink Armor and let's see. Yeah, Ink Armor, Rain. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Oh, and bomb rushes, where you just chuck bombs like as you would normally. But you have like pretty much an infinite amount of them for a certain amount of time. Ooh, dodged that roller there. What the hell? Alright, that'll end the video here. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you guys want me to do like another video like explaining like each individual part, I know I went over things a lot of like broad strokes just to show you guys like what this game is about from a conceptual point of view. Like more talking about like what each of the specials are, how to play a certain kind of weapon, and other things. I can definitely go into that. The next video I'll make will be talking about each of the 4 ranked modes specifically, because that's integral to how this game is actually played, because it's not just turf war. So yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later.